Okay, when it comes to having fun, nothing is more fun than doing a math word problem. Now, a lot of you out there are saying, please, Mr. YouTube Math Man, just stick with math. Comedy is not your thing. Well, listen, it is my job to get you excited about doing mathematics. And here is a nice, lovely little word problem that we're going to get into right now. So, the first step in solving any math problem is to read it. So, let's go and do this right now. It says the average of five consecutive integers is 15. What are the numbers? So this is not that difficult of a problem, assuming you know what these two words mean, consecutive and integers. And I'm not going to explain the definitions of these words just yet because I want to give you a full opportunity to solve this all on your own. So if you think you can go ahead and solve this problem, put your solutions into the comment section. I'm actually going to show you the correct answer in just a moment, and then I'm going to walk through step by step on how exactly to solve this particular problem. But before we get going, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TC Math Academy. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher. I've been teaching math for decades. It really is my true passion to help people learn mathematics. And I'm going to tell you right now, all of you can be successful in math. And I'm especially speaking to those of you that struggle in math. Okay, maybe you don't like math, maybe you failed math before in the past, maybe you're trying to, barely get through your current math course. Listen, please don't give up because you can not only pass your math class, you can actually do very, 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 very well in math. But to do well in math, basically you need three things. One, you need a work ethic. You got to be willing to work hard. So if you're not willing to put in the effort, then you can't really be like, well, I don't really want to work that hard, but I do expect to get good grades. It doesn't work that way. So you got to put in the work. The second thing you need is encouragement, and this is really important for those of you that are having a tough time in math, okay? A lot of you don't want to put in the work because you don't think you're going to get anything out of it. And that's kind of, logical. I definitely understand that. You're saying, why work hard if I'm a bad math student? I'm going to work hard, but I'm going to fail. That's not true. Okay, you need to work hard, and you can do this, but you need this third component to be successful in math, and that is great math instruction. Okay, you need to learn from someone or something that you actually understand. Now, math is a very technical subject, and unfortunately, math can be taught in a very technical way that confuses a lot of people. The way I like to teach math is I like to explain math in an easy to understand way so all students can understand what's going on without watering down the topic. So, if you need help in your current math course or maybe some sort of special test that involves math that you're getting ready for, something like the GED, SAT, ACT, or teacher certification exam, or if you're homeschooling mathematics, check out my Math Help program. I'm going to leave a link to it in the description of this video. I literally have over 100 plus different math courses that span these categories and much, much more. I'm also going to leave links to my math notes in the description as well. Most students take average math notes. A lot of students don't take any notes. But the people who take the best math notes are those that have grades like this. If you want to do well in mathematics, you have to be an awesome note taker. So start improving your notes, and things will get better for you immediately. And if this video helps you out, don't forget to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. Okay, so here we go. The average of five consecutive integers is 15. What are the numbers? What are these integers we're talking about? Well, here they are: 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So this is the answer, okay? These numbers are obviously one after another, after another, after another. So that's what consecutive means, and these are integers. We'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But this is a correct answer. So how did you do? Well, if you got this right, let me go ahead and give you a nice little happy face, an A plus, a 100%, and some stars so you can celebrate your success solving a nice math word problem. And this math problem that we're doing would be something pretty typical in like a pre-algebra, algebra 1 course. So if you're taking a course that involves algebra, this is a pretty standard type of word problem that you could encounter. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the actual solution right now. And the first three steps to solving any math problem, especially a math word problem, is the following. The first is to read the problem. The second step is to reread the problem. And the third step is to read that problem one more time and make sure you know exactly what the question is. So here, the average, okay, so we're talking about the average of 5 consecutive integers. So we need to think back, how do we calculate the average of anything? We'll talk about that in a second. So we're going to be finding the average of 5 consecutive integers. We need to know what these words mean here. Is 15. We're looking for these numbers. Okay, so you got to really fully understand the question. Too often students will just read the problem one time and they'll just start doing math. Okay, don't do that. Read the problem, absorb all the information in the problem, and then you're going to actually have to go back to the problem and pick out pieces of information in the problem to set up equations, etc. But before you even get started, always read the problem and then model the information in the problem. Now, in this particular problem, it's hard to draw like a sketch or a diagram, but we'll talk about exactly how we need to model this problem. But let's get into these words here, consecutive and integers. I basically showed you by looking at the answer, you kind of get an interpretation of what these words mean. But let's talk about integers, okay? So integers are a subset of the real numbers, okay? And if you're at this level of Algebra 1, Pre-Algebra, etc., you should have a good, solid understanding what the real numbers are. So the real numbers, again, on the number line, we have 0 right here, then we have all the positive numbers and all the negative numbers. We have all these fractions, decimals, whole numbers, natural numbers all over here, and then over here we have all the negative numbers, negative fractions, etc. So the integers are these numbers, okay? To be technical about it, it is the positive and negative of the whole numbers. Now, we don't need to review all the different numbers of the real number systems, although this is something you should know, but these are the integers, right? -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and of course these numbers continue on this way and this way. All right, so the problem is saying that we have 3 consecutive integers, and consecutive means we have a number and then we have the next number, the next integer. So for example, if we were starting with 1, 1 and 2 are consecutive numbers, okay, because they're next to one another. And then here, these are 3 consecutive numbers, or 3 consecutive integers, all right? So we're looking for numbers like this, not numbers like 1, 4, and 7. All these are, although these are integers, they're not consecutive. We're looking for things like 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now that we have an understanding what an integer is and consecutive is, let's just make sure we understand how to find the average. So if I wanted to find the average of 1, 2, and 3, okay, 1, 2, and 3, how would we find the average? Okay, so anytime you take on a word problem and there's some sort of term in here, like average, you have to stop and just think about, hey, what does that mean again? And always use like a simpler problem, a real basic problem to review. What do I need to do to find the average? I have to add these up, 1 plus 2 plus 3, and then if I wanted to find the average of 1, 2, and 3, I have to add up all these numbers and divide by how many numbers I have. I have 1, 2, 3 numbers, so I add up all these numbers and divide by 3. Of course, this would be what? 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 and 3 is 6, so 6 divided by 3 is 2, okay? Now, if you look here, 2 is the average of 1, 2, and 3. What's interesting about this? Well, 2 is right in the middle, okay? 1, 2, and 3 are consecutive integers, and 2 is that middle number, okay? Now, technically, 2 is also the median. I don't want you to get kind of, too distracted here by these terms. You should know what the median is as well, but 2 is the average, and it happens to be the middle number when we have 3 consecutive integers, okay, or odd number amount of integers. Keep this in mind because this is going to be kind of an interesting little observation that I'll show you at the end of this problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and pull this together. And what we need is some variables. We don't know what these numbers are, so let's just kind of make up a variable to represent these integers. So let's let x represent our first integer, okay? So if we had 1, 2, and 3, and x is going to be our first integer, what would be our next consecutive integers? Well, it would be x plus 1, right? So whatever this number is, we add 1, we get to the next integer. So our second integer here would be x plus 1, and then our third integer would be what? X plus 1 plus another 1, and in fact, that would be x plus 2. Okay, so x plus 1 is our third integer, and then this is x plus 2 is our third integer. Add another 1, that's x plus 3, that's our fourth. Add another 1, that's x plus 4, that's our fifth integer. So we can assign all these variable terms here as representations of our integers. So we have our first, second, third, fourth, and fifth integer. Okay, so now the problem says the average, okay, the average of all these integers is 15. So in order to solve for an unknown variable, okay, you're going to need to set up an equation. So you got to go back and reference the problem again and be like, okay, the average of 5 consecutive integers. I don't know if I said 3, if I said 5, I believe. Anyways, the average of 5 consecutive integers. Now, right here, we just kind of use some variables to represent these consecutive integers, right? X plus 1, x plus 2, etc. And we know how to calculate the average. So if we can calculate the average of these 5 consecutive integers, we know the answer is 15. So we're going to have to pull all this information together to construct an equation. So let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. All right, so here is our 5 consecutive integers. Our first is x, here's our second, x plus 1, here's our third, x plus 2, here is our fourth, x plus 3, and here is our last, our fifth consecutive integer, x plus 4. The average of these 5 consecutive integers is going to be 15. So how do I find the average of anything? Well, we have 5 numbers here, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to add up all these numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and divide by 5. So let's go ahead and construct that right now. So here is our 5 consecutive integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're finding the sum of them. We're adding them all up, and we're dividing by 5 because we have 5 numbers. We just know that when we do this, the answer is 15. All right, so here it is right here. The average of 5 consecutive integers is 15. So at this point, what we need to do is solve for x. Now, this might seem like a difficult equation to solve, but it's actually quite easy. Let's go ahead and get into that right now. All right, so here is our equation, and we want to solve for x. So we have all these x's in the numerator, so let's just add them all up. This is going to be combining like terms. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 x's. So that's going to be 5x, and then we have 1 plus 2, that's 3. 3 plus another 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. So our numerator is going to be 5x plus 10 over 5 is equal to 15. So this is our equation now. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can solve this particular equation. The easiest way to solve this equation is to factor out the greatest common factor in the numerator, but there's another approach as well. As long as you can get the right answer, that's what counts. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this 2 ways. First thing I'm going to do is factor out the GCF. So notice here I have a 5 in common with both of these terms. So this is 5 times x plus 10 is what? 5 times 2. I can factor out this 5 here. This is the greatest common factor. So I can just take that 5 out like so. And if you're not quite sure if you factor out the correct GCF, you can just multiply that 5 back in and see if you get back to the original equation. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 2 is 10 over 5. All right, so that's always a good check if you're not quite sure. Now, the advantage of doing this way is now this is 5 times x plus 2 over 5. Notice here I have a lovely opportunity to cross-cancel these 5's right here. So that leaves me with the equation x plus 2 is equal to 15. All right, so hopefully I didn't misstate anything, but of course you can see the work right here. Okay, so here we go. So I'm going to cross-cancel these 5's. This was the GCF. Now this is going to make my life super easy. I'm left with the equation x plus 2 is equal to 15. So all I need to do to solve for x is subtract 2 from both sides of the equation, and we get the answer x is equal to 13. Okay, so that's one approach. That is the correct answer. We're not done answering the question yet, but that's what x is equal to. But let's go ahead and take a look at another way we could solve this problem, this equation. So another way you could have approached this is to look at this as a proportion. We have two equal fractions. This is one fraction. Notice we have one fraction bar, and we can think of 15 as a one fraction as well. Anytime I want to think of a number as a fraction, just put it over 1. So anytime you have two equal fractions, again, this is a fraction bar, this is a fraction bar. We don't have three equal fractions. We don't have like 3/4 over here, okay? This is like 1, 2, 3. We don't have that. We have specifically one fraction equaling another fraction. You can think of this as a proportion. Let's just look at a quick example. If I have one fraction, 1/2, equaling to another fraction. What's a fraction that equals 1/2? Let's use something easy, 4/8. So anytime you have this is by definition a proportion, two equal fractions, you could simply use the cross product. In other words, when you have one fraction equaling to another, the cross products are equal. So you can see here 2 times 4 is going to be equal to 1 times 8. 8 is equal to 8. Okay, so just a quick review about proportions just to make sure you fully understand this, because remember, we don't learn math in a vacuum, all right? This all connects together. All right, so here, let's go ahead and use the cross product. So 5x plus 10 times 1 is simply 5x plus 10, and 5 times 15 is 75. So now we can just go ahead and solve this basic equation here. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides of the equation. That leaves me with 5x is equal to 65. And then I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 5, and I get x is equal to 13. All right, so which of course is the same thing I got over here. All right, so x is equal to 13. Those are two methods you could have taken. All right, so x is equal to 13. We're looking for those 5 consecutive integers. So remember, we had our variables set up in this manner. Our first integer was x. So x is equal to 13. So our first number is going to be 13. Our second number is going to be x plus 1, or 13 plus 1 is going to be 14. And then you could see here we have x plus 2. 13 plus 2 is 15. Then we have 16, or 13 plus 3. And then 13 plus 4 is 17. And there you go. Here is our 5 consecutive integers. So the average of 5 consecutive integers is 15. Now, if I was to add all these up and divide by 5, you'd get 15. But here's the interesting thing. What is the middle number here? It's 15, okay? So when you're thinking about the average, there it is right there. It's that middle number when you have these consecutive values, right? That's also the median, but in this scenario, the median and the average is the same, just like 1, 2, and 3. We had an odd number, okay, here's 5 numbers, this is 3 numbers. That center number with consecutive integers is the average. Of course, it's also the median, but you can kind of all see how this ties together. So, some of you could have, actually, if you really were thinking about that, you're like, okay, we have 5 consecutive integers, and the average is 15. You could just plop that number right there, 15, right? You'd be like, okay, 15 is the average and they're consecutive. So I need a 16 here, but then I need to balance this out right here with the 14, all right? So you'd be like, okay, then I'll need a 17 because I only have 3 numbers. Here now I have 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, but I can kind of balance it out over here with 3. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers with 15 in the middle as the average. So if you took that approach, that's actually very impressive as well. Okay, so there you go. Nice little basic algebra word problem to, brighten up your day. Now, here's the deal. How do you get better at word prompts? Well, there's only one way. You got to practice, okay? And I wanted to, I kind of like to use this analogy. If you want to get better at basketball, okay, would you watch TV all day? Would you watch the NBA all day or college basketball? Is that going to help you get better at basketball? No. So watching me do proms is not really going to help you. You might understand, but unless you practice this stuff on your own. That's the only way you're really going to improve your math skills. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to practice, practice, practice. And I have a ton of additional videos on word problems on my YouTube channel. But word problems, algebra word problems, or math word problems, it all depends on what level you're there. Word problems are everywhere with all different sorts of topics. So if you're in pre-calculus, you'll be doing certain type of higher, more advanced word problems versus pre-algebra. Okay, so if you're interested in any particular one of my math courses, whether it be geometry, algebra 2, pre-algebra, etc., I have word problems in all those courses. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.